Don't give Caesar what belong to Africans. Africa resources is for Africans. The resources for Africa is for Africans. Don't give Caesar what belongs to Africans.
Alassane Ouattara, the president of Ivory Coast. Listen to me very carefully. If you are going to let American use your air bases or military forces to try kill Ibrahim Traoré or destroy Burkina Faso or destroy Mali or destroy Niger, I am telling you straight, you will face us. And we will point you as Africa's enemy. This is direct warning to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching my videos from. Welcome back to my YouTube space. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, we are doing it the African way every day, every time. Of course, I'm going to talk about Ibrahim Traoré and white people. I've seen their videos reacting to Ibrahim Traoré. They are reacting when LANGLEY'S said that they want to remove Ibrahim Traoré from power. They want to invade Burkina Faso. Recently, word have been around. Recently, people have been reacting on Ibrahim Traoré because USA and France are so much concerned on how to remove Ibrahim Traoré from power. Now, I have seen some white people reacting, and sometimes it's so hard to forgive, or it's so hard to defend something. So there's some white people who they get it so hard to defend USA on what they're trying to do. It's so hard to defend France on what they're trying to do because Burkina Faso is not their country. Burkina Faso has nothing to do with US. The goal of Burkina Faso has nothing to do with US. The US is concerned with the goal of Burkina Faso, and they want to remove Ibrahim Traoré, the leader that people loved so much. So some white people are out here and they are like, okay, what are they trying to do? Of course, when you don't defend everything, because some things are just open clearly that here you are just out of bounds. I want you to watch these clips of white people talking about Ibrahim Traoré, and then we'll come back here and react.
Well, the United States and Europe are preparing to plunder Burkina Faso of its assets, and the excuse that they are using is that Ibrahim Traoré, the leader who came to power in 2022, is stealing the gold of the country for his own enrichment. Now, if he was stealing the gold, why is the country building a new airport that can handle 1 million passengers per year? Why do the farmers have 600 to 700 new solar powered tractors and all kinds of implements? Why do they have a new cotton processing plant in the country? Why do they have 2 tomato processing plants in the country, new ones? Why has the country's GDP grown by $4 billion? Because Ibrahim Traoré is enriching himself. What a load of crap. If you've ever wondered about the hypocrisy of the United States, has it ever been clearer than now?
You know those people who are trying to tell you that Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso is a dictator? Yeah, they won't tell you about this because there's been a major toxic chemical bust in Burkina Faso. They have busted a massive illegal shipment of sodium cyanide crossing the border between Burkina Faso and Mali. These busts are happening more and more. This one was about 3 weeks ago, but I'm hearing they're increasing since the government over there put in a massive camera network to try and stop it. Now you might think, what, sodium cyanide? That's really toxic stuff, right? To which you would be absolutely correct. The reason it's prevalent in this cross-border criminal network is because it's a cheap way to extract gold. And obviously the governments in that area don't cover every single square foot of land that they own. And there's a lot of illicit gold extraction going on. And you can imagine that these criminal networks, backed by foreign investors, shall we say, they're not exactly following regulation with regards to the disposal and the use of this really toxic chemical. But if you ask me, it's a real military way of thinking from Captain Ibrahim Traoré. You put a stranglehold on the trafficking of a substance needed for the gold extraction, you stop the gold extraction, right? It's demonstrating, as this article points out, improved interagency coordination, effective cross-border collaboration between the governments, and also growing public-private partnerships. And I think that last point is key, because obviously there's an element of trust growing between the people in Burkina Faso and the government, because they can see changes for the better being made before their very eyes. Like I say, I am fascinated with what's going on in Burkina Faso and what has happened in the last 3 years since Captain Traoré came to power. Because it's clear, to me at least, as to why outside influences can't let him and Burkina Faso succeed. Because it's not just the money that they will lose from the illicit trade in gold and mining in gold, because obviously these are criminal enterprises that need a lot of money and a lot of investment to actually make profit from. That doesn't come from within Burkina Faso. But it's also, as Chomsky coined, the threat of a good example. Because if Burkina Faso is allowed to flourish and does well, then other countries surrounding it in Africa are going to see that and are going to try and emulate it. Now, all this is happening since this guy came to power because he kicked out the French and the Western powers, which were pretty much stealing the resources from Burkina Faso and giving nothing back in return. Which is why outside influences cannot let him succeed. Africa, Burkina Faso, the world, I've said it before and I'll say it again, protect this man. Protect him at all costs.
Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader Ibrahim Traore, the youngest leader of any country in Africa, was just offered by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia to allow Saudi Arabia to build 200 new mosques in Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traore is a Muslim man, but he responded to Mohammed bin Salman with a different suggestion. He said, "I greatly appreciate your offer, but my people can pray anywhere. If the people of Gaza can continue to pray, why do my people need 200 new mosques right now? Maybe one day that would be great, but right now, the people of Burkina Faso need new hospitals, new schools, new jobs to simply stay alive amid the threats of Western aggression." This exceptional leadership from Ibrahim Traore exemplifies why the West has tried to unalive him at least 16 times now over the past 2 years. The West fears a truly sovereign and brilliant mind and a young leader like Ibrahim Traore who has the capacity to take Africa into a sovereign and free future.
Burkina Faso was formerly colonized by France and has an abundance of gold in natural resources. Traoré pushed out Western influence, including the mine owners, who are French mine owners in Burkina Faso. France wanted to reestablish relations with Burkina Faso, and if you've seen Macron giving a pretty ridiculous speech trying to say, one day they'll thank us for helping them, no, they just wanted you to leave them alone. Anyway, Traoré said that in order to reestablish relations with France, that France is going to have to return all of the gold that they have stolen from Burkina Faso's mines, and all of this gold that they have is sitting in reserves in France. France is trying to say that that gold is theirs. It comes from mines in France. There are no gold mines in France. So now the US is getting involved. And we can all guess what those claims are going to be. Now we're seeing the claim, oh, he's stealing all the gold for himself and he's not helping his people. The next they're going to be like, we need to bring democracy to Burkina Faso, like those typical things that the US says in order to manufacture consent for invasion and ultimately backing a coup, which I'm sure they have already tried. Them, France, and anybody else who benefits from the gold exploitation of African nations, which includes those fake Muslim countries like the UAE. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying that. But there's a reason why a lot of these nations are not coming to the aid of Palestinians and are also thriving off of the exploitation of natural resources from nations in Africa. Anyway, I'm hoping this gets picked up by American TikTok, but we'll see. And as we go along, you're probably going to hear a lot of comparisons of Thomas Sankara to Ibrahim Traoré. Sankara was a leader almost exactly like Traoré. Around 1970s in Burkina Faso, I have one of his speeches pinned on my profile. I'm going to make a part 2, sharing what I know about Sankara, because I understand this is 2 minutes and that might be a little bit too long for people's attentions.
I love Africa. It's so difficult to watch Ibrahim, I can't even say his name, Traoré, in his speeches and not be absolutely like shaken to the core at the absolute dedication he has to his people. And of course, that's a threat. That's a threat to colonialists. That's a threat to the West. Having anyone who is able to gather people that were ultimately very divided in a very large continent is a threat. If you don't know, Ibrahim has already survived over a dozen assassination attempts. I think it was like 18 or something. And of course, France is threatening him. He has taken upon himself in Burkina Faso to build roads. He's putting in the infrastructure. He's taken it away from private companies to ensure there's no corruption through there. And they are on the ground building roads right now, building the infrastructure that Africa deserves. He has taken control over their own resources. And of course, this is a huge threat because these colonial nations like France, they profit off of exploiting Africa, and they always have. A continent as rich in resources and culture like Africa, being independent and being free and being able to profit for its people, oh my God, now that's a whole new world.
They killed Fred Hampton. They killed Rosa Luxemburg. They killed Che Guevara. They killed Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. They killed Ghassan Kanafani and George Howie and Mehdi Amil. They killed Chris Hani. They killed Patrice Lumumba and Salvador Allende. They killed my goat, Thomas Sankara, which is something I'll never come to terms with. George Abdullah and Ahmed Sadat are rotting in prison, along with so many political prisoners. Pro-Palestinian protesters are being deported. And now they're trying to kill Ibrahim Traoré. They've already tried over a dozen times. Meanwhile, a self-proclaimed fascist, a literal war criminal, Itamar Ben Ba'ir, is freely roaming the streets of New York. What is it going to take? Ibrahim Traoré needs to be protected at any cost. Any and all cost. Protect this man. For God's sake, protect this man.
Why are the Americans threatening Burkina Faso? Why is Trump going to back for the French and going after this guy? Why is the head of the U.S. AFRICOM, the Africa Command, talking about the need to secure Burkina Faso's resources? Because this guy is the boogeyman to European imperialism. He's a young black African Muslim Marxist who is digging out the French deep state in Africa. French colonialism never ended in Africa. The French have a very effective deep state in Africa. Through the banking system, through fake ownership of the natural resources of Africa, they have been able to maintain economic and political and military control over much of their former colonies. Most of the wealth of France is still stolen from Africa. The gold that fills their banks, the uranium that powers their metropolis, all of this is looted from Africa. When they pulled out, they installed a deep state with corrupt rulers that they could pay off in order to get resources for practically nothing. And Traoré is ending that system. The French created a banking system for Africa that gives France basic entire control over those nations' economies. The Africans actually have to borrow their own money at interest from France. And the gold mines, the uranium mines, all the natural resources in these countries are treated as French property, and Traoré has been making them property of the Burkinabe people. And as leader of the Alliance of Sahel States, his neighbors have been joining in on it. France has been getting driven out of Africa. Some good information on it. Check out the Al Jazeera documentary, The Gold Mafia, from Al Jazeera Investigates, or this Caspian Report video about how the French bank basically owns a bunch of African countries. Now, while Trump probably does not have any direct financial interest in the French Empire, there's what they always called the threat of a good example. The reason they tried to kill Fidel Castro so many times and blockaded Cuba was was not just because of the loss of the banana fields and sugarcane fields. It was that if driving imperialism out of a country improves the standard of living in that country, then there's the threat of a good example of other countries replicating. So any country that dared to defy imperialism had to be severely punished. And what Brother Ibrahim has been doing and the Alliance of Sahel States have been doing has been improving the standard of living in their countries by using those resources for those countries, and that is a threat to imperialism worldwide. There's been something like 20 or 21 coup attempts or assassination attempts on him so far, and they're not going to stop. This guy is perhaps the single greatest threat to the imperialist world order right now. Tomorrow, April 30th, there's supposed to be a continent-wide protest for him across Africa. His cause is being taken up all over the continent, and it is a wonderful thing.
Come back. Now, those are the whites talking about Ibrahim Traoré, and I'm happy. I love to see some other races are concerned of what's going on in Africa. Maybe they are genuinely concerned, because a lot of them are not genuinely concerned. They will just be talking to get numbers, or they just be talking so that black people can think they are supporting. But there's some white people who are deeply concerned with the life of a human being. They are doing that because it is affecting human being, not because it is Africa, not because it's black people. So if the white people who are talking about Traoré, if they are talking it from deepest part of their heart, then it's a plus to them. Now, the USA or the French country, the white people have been benefiting from Burkina Faso and a lot of Western or African countries. The French, the USA, and these Western countries, they have been benefiting from Burkina Faso. But since Ibrahim Traoré took power in 2022, several policies and geopolitical shifts have affected and the benefits that Western, mainly French and the broader European, have been received. This is sitting bad on them. Now, the Western powers or the white people have been benefiting from Burkina Faso. They have been having easily access to natural resources, especially gold. And this easily access is what is getting them mad. It's what is making them mad, simply because they were exploiting this country. They were exploiting Burkina Faso. They were exploiting Africa. Since Ibrahim Traoré took power, he said no to them. He said no to this exploitation. He said, let's do business. If you are not here for business, then go. Now, before Traoré, French and other Western mining companies had significant control over Burkina Faso gold resources through concessions and contracts. Much of the profit from gold mining left the country via foreign companies. This is pure exploitation. No one was benefiting from this. The farmers or the people of Burkina Faso were not benefiting from this goals of Burkina Faso. But after Traoré, his government has pushed for greater national control over mining and has revoked or restricted some foreign mining deals. This means Western companies are losing direct profits and influence over resources extractions. France have lost a lot of benefits because they no longer control the prices of Burkina Faso gold. They no longer control the resources. They no longer have the direct impact, or they no longer have the direct access to these Burkina Faso natural resources. So white people have been benefiting from these natural resources of Burkina Faso, and seeing another white people talking about this, that means that it is hard on them to defend this, what's happening, because a lot of white people, or most of them, they know very well that the white system are getting free resources here from Africa. They know very well they are living off the back of black people. They know very well the resources, or they are exploiting Africa for them to have good economy. They are exploiting Africa them to have good schools and hospitals. Government of the white, or the white system, is exploiting Africa for the white people to have good life. But it's only rich white people who are enjoying these benefits. The poor white people and the middle class white people, they are seeing that this is not our cause, because we are not benefiting from this. If the economy is bad, we go down, all of us. But some few people are living off the back of black people, and they are trying to call us all white people that we are the one. But no. So these white people have been benefiting, or these white systems have been benefiting of the access or the resources of Burkina Faso. But since Traoré took power, they do no longer have that access. We have something we call military and geopolitical influence. Now, before Traoré, France maintained a military presence under the guise of fighting terrorism. Operation Bahrain gave them strategic control in the Sahel and influence over Burkina Faso defense policies. After Traoré, he expelled French troops and military advisors, and Burkina Faso withdrew from ECOWAS and strengthened ties with Russia and other non-Western powers. And this has reduced Western geopolitical leverage. And this is affecting the white systems or the Western powers or the Western countries. Actually, it's affecting them because all the influence is shifting to Russia and China or BRICS. And that is one thing that the US or the France or Germany, they are not happy with it because they want us to continue believing and worshipping the dollar. So white people or the broader European must be concerned on this, but some of them are seeing this as a give Africa what belongs to Africa. Don't give Caesar what belongs to Africa. Don't. The resources of Africa is for Africans. You hear me? So Africans or Ibrahim Traoré has changed a lot of things. Before Traoré came to power, Western countries and NGOs often tied to the government operated developments and humanitarian programs that also gave them soft power and influence in shaping policies. With these NGOs, USAID and all this, they were getting soft spots in Africa. But after Traoré took power, there have been a reduction in the foreign NGO presence and a tightening of regulation. Traoré government is pushing for self-reliance, limiting how much Western actors can control the narrative on development priorities. Because of the USAID, because they were helping us through this NGO, they were everywhere, getting their soft spot. But Traoré is trying to change that. And a lot of white people who have opened their mind, they now know that Africa is fighting for the better. Africa is fighting for the better. And white people have opened their eyes. I see some of them. Some of them are talking not because for views or to get attention of black people, but because it is reality. It is reality that they have been living off the black bucks. And they now know that. And what the white government is trying to do, what USA is trying to do to take control over Burkina Faso, is not because they want to help Burkina Faso. It's because they want to get back the influence, the geopolitical influence, the economic influence. They are losing. They know they are losing, but they cannot bow down. They do not want to bow down and say they accept that Africa, you are great. I accept that we have been benefiting from Burkina Faso. Please give us chance to do business. They cannot go down on their knees on that. That's why they are creating issues and chaos. That's why they want Burkina Faso out of power. It's not Burkina Faso or Ibrahim Traoré is a bad leader, but because Ibrahim Traoré is restricting them from having access to our African or Burkinabe resources. Because Ibrahim Traoré is restricting them to do bad things to the Africans. So it's a mathematics, it's a plus math, something to add on 1 + 1. Because you're doing good for the country, we were living on begging on you. Because we have stopped begging, we have stopped living on your because of your because we have stopped begging from you. So you want to create chaos, and once you create this chaos, you create wars, you create so that we can come up and beg from you. We aren't begging. It's time for African black people to stand tall and say no to this. Let's live within our own means. Let's live within our own. We have everything. We have gold. We have oil. We have everything that we need. Let's live within our own means. So, Ibrahim Traoré has given tension to the white system. The white people, some of them, are knowing the truth because they know very well that Ibrahim Traoré has a lot of influence in Africa and is a good leader. And Burkinabe people love him and they have not complained. But they are seeing their country, USA, trying to manipulate. If you are learned enough, you will know that this is bad. Why are you trying to manipulate this? They killed Muammar Gaddafi. They betrayed Thomas Sankara, Lumumba, and all these leaders, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., all of these leaders, they were betrayed. Some of them were killed. And it is something they know very well, that we are trying to reduce the power of Africans or black people. And that's why you see black Americans and Caribbeans are supporting what's going on in Burkina Faso. And we will continue supporting what's happening in Burkina Faso. until Burkinabe people tells us that they are living off bad, until Burkinabe people start complaining. If they are not complaining, if Burkinabe people are happy with Ibrahim Traoré, we as black people, we are happy and we need him as a leader. Tell me what you think on the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.